Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore, who appears to be back in Nebraska.
I'm back in the house. Yep, back home.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, I'm sure it's sometimes traumatizing to go out to the left coast and see all the freaky people.
Oh no, I love it out there. I fit right in.
Yeah. Oh
I'm
no.
envious of all the Tesla drivers out there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what a difference you have in that. I mean, it seemed like it was a pretty cool milestone for the Omaha Metro to hit 5,000 EVs, and that's something they probably did in Seattle
That's
10 years
that,
ago.
that's a suburb.
Right. No, I get that. It's just really,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
EVs are,
it just constantly amazes me. It just, you know, as I started going out there 3 years ago after our daughter moved there, and we'd be driving around and I'd see a Tesla and I'd slap my knee, right? Because the girls
uh-huh.
got tired of me saying, "Oh, look, another Tesla." So I slapped my knee. I got to the point now I don't even do that anymore. I count, every block or so, 3 or 4 Teslas in a row. It's crazy.
Well, we've
And then, of
talked
course,
before about the neighborhood effect, and once your neighbor gets one, or you take a ride in one, and you
yeah.
see the difference, that's
Well,
so much of it.
my daughter lives on a cul-de-sac. Okay.
Hmm.
And so there's like 6 houses around the cul-de-sac. Of those 6 houses, 2 of them have EVs. One's a Rivian and the other one's a Tesla.
Yeah. Well, that's not really surprising. You know, b- uh, anyways, so you pointed out right before we got on the show some interesting data. So for the third quarter of this year,
Yeah.
Colorado has passed up California as the number one state for new car sales, either sold or leased. And Colorado had 25.3%. So slightly more than 1 out of every 4 cars. California was at 24.3%. So it was a 1% difference, in
Yeah.
market share. That's a pretty big deal. Colorado's overtaken the Golden State, which has spent years setting the pace of EV adoption. Now, does Colorado have EV mandates?
No, not
They
that I'm
don't have any,
aware of.
but they do have incentives. So we do know that, because I remember that time we did that article about the lady who bought the Leaf for $7,700 and
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
had to pay $700 because she
Right.
was low income. She
Yep.
got federal and state tax credits. She only paid $700 for the car, which is really cool. That it worked out like that. And she really lived. It was
She
somebody
needed.
on like a disability income or
Yep.
something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And yeah, so that it worked out appropriately, right? That's kind of as intended.
Yeah, and I
Um,
just, but speaking of which, I just posted a story where there are now 6 EV models that you can lease in the United States for less than $260 a month.
oh wow.
That'll provide an incentive. Of course, then you're seeing, because of what's happening with the incoming administration and the threats to do away with all the credits and things, you're seeing lots of articles now saying now's the time to buy an EV. Well,
Mhm.
if you're interested, and of course, then you see other articles that say don't buy, lease. Right? Well, here's your opportunity. You got 6 different models to choose from. So apparently, for under $260 a month. That's
Yeah, I think it's crazy for the government to have put something in play like the tax incentives, and then the manufacturers adjust their
adjust to it
manufacturing to fit that mold, and then a different administration.
with a
I wouldn't
completely.
think they'd be able to just come and axe it right off the bat. I would, I could see maybe there be some phase out period, but there has to be some fairness both to
What do the
the
car makers do?
taxpayers.
Yeah,
Well, you got the taxpayers. Ultimately, the government is responsible to the taxpayers above all else,
yeah,
right? Okay,
yep.
the voters. I should say the voters. And then after that, though, the car manufacturers because they support so many jobs in the United States. They're some of the largest employers in the United States. And so I can see them phasing the stuff out. I get, where one party may not think it's, the right thing to do, or whatever, but I think it should have to be, go down from the 7,500, maybe goes down to 5,000, then the next year goes
Mhm.
2,500, something like that. But it can't just be a thing to screw over the car manufacturers more than anything, because the taxpayers, they simply just missed the boat, right? But the car
Yeah.
manufacturers are the ones that really, not that
Have
I'm
the
like feeling sorry for General Motors or Ford, but as somebody who's owned a variety of businesses, and I've had something just destroyed by the government before.
pulled out.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I just, you know, I have a different view on things as, you know,
Well,
as somebody.
you got guys coming in. There's a new senator who replaced Sherrod Brown out of Ohio. This guy was a car dealer. He dealt with apparently luxury car line, and I don't know if he had a chain or whether he's a particularly successful car salesman, right?
Mhm.
And so he's screaming. I posted the headline today that these tax credits are crazy. So he's coming in with the notion that we shouldn't be giving people any tax credits. And of course, I would assume that's because he was dealing with luxury cars and like most car dealers, doesn't like EVs because there isn't the profit in there for them that they once enjoyed. So he's coming
Mhm.
in and saying, let's do away with the credits and that'll solve my problem. I'll be able to sell more gas cars instead of these lousy EVs. Is that where he's
Yeah.
coming from? And is that the advice that the administration is getting, the incoming administration is getting?
Well, you think that's a
Probably.
lot of it. I mean, you look at, what was it? The local, was it the Baxter or Woodhouse? I think it was Baxter that spoke out so heavily against EVs. But I think he was more concerned about mandates than anything else. The CEO of the Baxter
Yeah.
organization here in Omaha.
They
Um,
they they made, and here's the other thing too, is because these car makers want to go to a direct to customer sales, which cuts the car dealers out of the thing. And so Rivian is in the middle of a fight right now, trying to be able to do the direct to consumer sales like Tesla. And
mhm.
so far, they're, as you would expect, they just lost. Oh, in Washington State, while I was up there, they lost a lawsuit that would have allowed direct consumer sales in Washington State. So this is an ongoing. Tesla's been battling that. If you want to buy a Tesla, you know what you guys got to do? Here in Omaha, you got to go to Kansas City and pick it up. And if you want to buy a car over in Iowa, you got to drive to Minnesota and pick it up. So it's just you know
Oh, so you
it's
can't
protect.
just go pick it up at the service center over in Council
Oh,
Bluffs.
you might be able to do that. I would possibly if they deliver, but generally the guys that I've talked to when they're buying them, they have to go to Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a little different. Um, what was I going to say? Shoot, I kind of
Sorry, I
lost my.
distracted you.
No, I know, I lost my train of thought. But I was just curious though with that dealer, what state they were in too, because that makes a big difference. If you're in some state like here in Nebraska, I mean, EVs don't sell
Oh,
that well.
the guy coming in from replacing Sherrod Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Ohio. Sherrod Brown
Okay.
was a senator from Ohio, and this guy's a successful car dealership owner, which means, of course, he's worth a lot of money, probably more than Brown. And
Yeah.
now he's coming in, so he's the one saying he thinks that EV credits are crazy. So
And I told you, a friend of mine's a former state attorney general for Ohio that's currently lobbying the Trump administration to keep the EV, not the mandates, but the credits.
credits, yeah. Well, you're saying that's car companies have done that.
Yeah.
They're speaking out and saying, "Hey, keep the things in place." We built all this infrastructure, and hired people, and we've done these things to meet the government, requirements, to do our part to help, green the economy and so on. And now you want to cut that. Oh, along that line, the British government, people
Mhm.
within the British government are saying, "Hey, if we don't keep working on developing EV technology and promoting it, we're going to lose out to our customer. We're going to lose out to our competitors." So you see this going on, and then of course you see the onslaught of Chinese EVs and the positive reviews they're getting, despite the other reviews that say they're fires and death traps. So,
It's so
so
funny how much people want to talk about the fires because they're really it's not zero. Okay,
no,
we acknowledge EV fires exist, but it's
yeah,
such an anomaly compared to gas powered cars that the thing is, when they do catch on fire, the fire is probably worse and the car is probably a total loss. Whereas sometimes in a gas powered car, you may be able to put the fire out that's in the engine bay and recover the car. And so some of
yeah,
those on gas
yeah.
powered cars are
Generally
recoverable.
don't. Yeah, you generally don't. There's photographs that they put online of the three teenagers that died in that crash of the Cybertruck in Piedmont, California. That thing was just incinerated. So,
I wonder how
um,
fast it was going.
well, now there. See, this is the question: is that I assume there'll probably some way to recover, possibly the data from that, depending if the data got into the uh, the Tesla network. That's obviously, from what I saw, there's probably little chance they'll recover anything off the chips themselves. But I'm
Right, but I
guessing
was just saying if they were going over.
they were being teenagers and they were screwing around. Look how fast this can go, and
Yeah,
lost control of it. Hey,
yeah,
we just had another one. It crashed in New York. Another crash and fire. I think killed 2 people. So those things happen, but because they're electrics, that's when we hear about them.
yeah. No, I get it. But when you think about it being a 60 for every um 60 miles, what was it? It's a 60-to-1 ratio for miles
Yeah,
driven.
yeah,
Um, Gas cars catching on fire versus
yeah.
EVs. I mean, EVs just a drop in the bucket, 1.5% the chance
Yeah.
of a gas car. And I've never had a gas car catch on fire, so I
Yeah,
just can't
thankfully,
see.
me too. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and I don't really know if I know anybody who has, ever had a car fire. Period. Never mind, when you cut the chance and down by, from one spot to and divided by 60. It's just not a very big chance.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I wanted to say though, so we were talking about the incentives. One of our stories today is Ford set a new EV sales record in November, even
Yeah.
as F-150 Lightning demand slumps. Now, I wonder how much of this is because we're going to have a new president, and he says he's going to get rid of the EV credits. So maybe it's now making people rush out and buy now. But it's the Mach E and the E Transit both
Right.
had put up big numbers. Um, so since the pandemic, this was the best November sales month Ford has had. So
Yeah,
let's say the last
and
3 years.
yeah, and obviously
Overall,
the majority of those sales were gas cars, gas
yeah,
vehicles.
they sold
But
166,000
right,
vehicles
but
in
then
November.
what was it, 20 some percent increase in sales of EVs over
Yeah,
the previous,
21% increase in EV sales
right?
from a year ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they had a 14% overall increase in sales, but a 21% increase in EV sales.
yeah,
They sold 10,800 all electric models. They sold fewer F-150s than last year. They Lightning sales, Ford Lightning sales fell 17% from last year. But for the first 11 months of this year, Ford Lightning sales are up 39% from the previous year.
Yeah.
So it was just the 1 month that seemed to have taken a dip. But let me see. They sold 5,900 Mach-E's, and the
Yeah, I
let's see.
saw a couple of them here just the other day. I was walking near my daughter's house, and a young guy in a Mach-E pulled out of the medical center near where she lives. So yeah, oh, there's a Mach-E
I think they look
among
nice.
all the Teslas you see.
Right. No, I get it. Let's see. They sold 1,240 e-transit vans in November, which was a 358% increase from the year before.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of those commercial vans being sold.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Ford EV sales come as several rivals also reported higher demand. Kia and Hyundai both set November sales records as new EVs. The Ioniq 5 and the EV9 both gained a lot of momentum. Let's see. Honda Prologue started selling in March.
Yeah,
Honda
they've been doing
sold
well.
25,000
Yeah.
so far in the US. They
Yeah,
sold
those sales are going
6,800
like
in November.
gangbusters.
Yeah. Let's see. With 6,800, that even sold more than the Mach-E. So the Honda is doing
Yeah.
quite well. We've not really covered Honda much.
No, we
Uh,
haven't. But then that car just came out. It only seems a few weeks ago. I mean, obviously, it's been longer than that, probably 6 months or longer. But
yeah,
yeah, they're doing well. Of course, it's a Honda, and it's nice to. They've been in the game for a long time. It's just that they have focused. Actually, we could go back to the Honda EV Plus, which was probably one of the first really practical EVs that was built, part of the original
oh, okay.
California mandate. And then, of course, they got out of it. Then they introduced, about the time they stopped that car, they got introduced the Honda Insight, the little two-seater that I owned for 10 years. And then they'd not a lot of success with their hybrids, but apparently they finally got the electric EV game together, and they're doing well. So it'll be interesting to watch how they do.
Yeah. Now back to Ford, the Lightning sales probably hurt by the fact the Cybertruck, came out, the Chevy Silverado EV
Yeah,
and the GMC Sierra EV all hit the market. So there's been, some
there's some
competitors in the full
competition.
size pickup market for them. Now, this is kind of cool. Ford is offering significant incentives on EV models to close out the year. They're offering 0% interest for 72 months, a
Yeah,
6-year loan with no interest
yeah,
at
yeah.
current interest rates, and 5,000 in bonus cash on EVs. It's not saying which models, but on leases, they're offering up to 10,500 off on a 24 Mach-E and 6,500 off on an F-150 Lightning. That's a pretty big incentive on a last year's model
Right.
Mach-E's to get rid of them. But anyways, I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see what we got here. Oh God, got an article off of Benzinga, and it's loading up my computer with ads.
Of course.
Oh God, and videos that won't stop playing, even though I keep telling, clicking stop. Anyways, Benzinga is reporting EVgo and General Motors hit a major milestone with 2,000 fast charging stalls powering up EV access nationwide. They're in 45 metro markets across 32 states. And they're aiming at 2,850 fast chargers nationwide, including 400 at flagship destinations in key US states. I didn't even know GM was
Yeah, yeah.
um, in the charger
In the
business.
space, yeah. But the real news today, and there's like a half dozen stories I posted, is that we're going to a true plug and charge model. So in sometime next year, in 2025, you will not have to use an app or a RFID card or anything like that, or put numbers in. You simply plug your car in and you start charging. This is exciting because
Which that's
I've
what
got,
Tesla has now.
yeah, and so that's what we're going to. As a matter of fact, Nissan owners, EV owners, will be able to use the Tesla charging network
Next month,
here within the, yeah, with
January.
very shortly. So that's the cool news, because now we've got just simply, you don't have to carry a card, you don't have to call anybody, you just plug in and you start charging. And of course, somehow or another, there'll be, I don't understand exactly, but they'll be able to then charge, assuming a credit card or something like that you have on record. Which
They'll add it to your
nice.
loan.
Yeah, goes now. Of course, what the rate of the charge is. There's an article I posted. This lady bought herself a used Chevrolet Bolt,
They
and
don't
she
charge
went out.
fast.
Yeah, she went out to charge it. She charged it to 80% capacity, and when she looked at her bill, it was $55. $55 to charge her Bolt to 85% capacity, or 80% capacity.
Was she being charged by the kilowatt or by the minute?
I don't know. It didn't say, but
That
obviously.
makes me wonder, because the Bolt charges really slow.
Oh
So
yeah,
does
it's got a very slow charger. Yeah, they were not up to speed when they built that car originally when it comes to, but I assume that they were thinking, well, everybody's going to charge at home.
charge at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't make any difference. It's sitting there for 8 hours or whatever. That you don't need to have a fast. I mean, it's like my car. My car's that way. It sits at home. So that shocked her. And then I've seen, some other articles were similar. This is particularly a problem in the UK, because if you don't have access, to most people in the UK do not have garages. They park in front of their house on a little, what would have been once upon a time a green space, a little patio, or they park on the street. And of course, you can't get power to those things. So they typically have to go to someplace where there's a charging station, and for that convenience, you pay through the nose. So
yeah, I get it. Yeah, their experience with charging is different. It really makes the idea of the UK EV mandates kind of a challenge, because it's a whole different experience if you have a parking space or a garage versus parking on the street.
Yeah.
Now, like we said before, if they have, if every street lamp had a charger on it,
well,
it would be a solution.
Funny you should mention that, because what they've done is they used to have all these red call boxes before anybody, before people had telephones. You read to the red call box or the blue call box or whatever it was. I think the red call box, that was that was for the public use of the telephone. Now they're converting those over to places where you can charge the car. So, and in some of the London boroughs, here 2 decades ago, they actually had charging. What would the word I want? I don't want to say pylons, but I guess that's a word I could use. Nice little charging stations where you had a plug, and of course everything over there operates off of 50 hertz and 220. So it's like having level 2 here in the United States. And you just took your car, took your cable out of your car, and you went over and you plugged into the thing, and you plugged the other end of your car, and you charge your car. And they've had that for a couple decades now.
Yeah. So El Mistro says you charge a Silverado EV from 0 to 200 kilowatt hours. One of those fast chargers at 40 cents a kilowatt hour. That's $80. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
We live in Nebraska where electricity is 12 cents a kilowatt hour, but at a fast charger, it's still going to be probably 24 cents. But you go other parts of the country, that 40 cents is no big deal. But the thing is, normally, if you were going to be doing that. And I can't imagine how long it takes to charge a 200 kilowatt hour battery. That's like charging 3 cars.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean that the batteries on the Chevy trucks and the Hummer, I mean, they're like 215 kilowatt hours, and it's just nuts to think about one of those sitting there. You need to have something to go do when you charge
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah.
That's a completely different experience than
And
than a
that's
normal.
and I okay, if this Silverado is being used on a commercial basis, and
Yeah.
by commercial I mean you're driving it a long distance, right? From you drive on a daily basis from Omaha to Kansas City, right? For what are I don't know, go pick up tires at a tire dealership
Well,
or
so Bill, the
whatever.
real big use case for the Chevy truck EVs is towing. So they've got towing kind of figured out. So where everybody else suffers from having enough range for towing, the the Silverado and the Sierra they by far beat the Ford Lightning and the Cybertruck and the Rivian in how far they can actually still go because
So what are
they're
they towing? Little miniature backloaders, ditch witches,
well. So
people moving, where you do car transport, for
think
hire, kind of thing.
my thought is more somebody with a double axle trailer that's hauling tools and materials to a job site in
Right.
let's say construction or plumbing
But you're
or siding.
yeah, but you're typically not in a day you're going to drive from Omaha to Grand Island,
No,
right?
no, no, no. But you're gonna tow that thing. Maybe say you went out 30 miles out
Yeah.
and then back. You might tow 60 miles. Well, even with the F-150 Lightning, that was using up at least 75% of the battery. Okay, to go 60 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, whereas on the Silverado, you're probably still going to have 100 miles left. The Silverado gets a little better than 2 miles per kilowatt hour. It's kind of terrible in terms of electric
Yeah.
efficiency, but it's a big vehicle. You're using it
It's
for
yeah.
commercial reason. It's not the same idea as somebody just driving around in the Fiat.
But
You
but
wouldn't.
that but I would expect this vehicle, if it's used on a commercial basis, it goes back to the owner's garage or it goes to the
Yeah.
central shop that the plumber, services is operating out of, and sits overnight and gets his charge. So I mean, there are ways. Obviously, there are going to be exceptions to this, right? But
Yeah, but if
generally,
you're doing level two charging, what are you putting in, like 5 kilowatt hours every hour? You
yeah,
know, you're not putting in a crazy amount. It's hard to fill
yeah,
that to,
two
if you
hundred
ran the thing all the
kilowatt.
way down. I know it's just nuts to think about.
That's what's it? That's not quite nearly 10 times the size of the battery in my Fiat, my
Yeah, I
20
get it.
my
I get
24
it.
kilowatt hour Fiat. So yeah.
But yours is way more efficient.
Oh yeah.
You're probably getting at least 4 miles per kilowatt hour versus their two.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big difference, but that's the real use case. If you are serious and you don't want to buy the Ram REV, and you're in towing, the Chevy is the way to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't need towing, you're going to do a truck. Well, I mean, the Ford seems like a better
Yeah.
option. But anyways,
Hey, while we're on trucks and things, how about the Pope's new electric Popemobile?
oh yeah, oh God,
Yeah.
this almost seems like a maritime combination. Like they were trying to make this look like something you might take. I mean, hold on, you got to look at this. This is really
Yeah.
funny.
It's
For
a it's a
starters,
it's a Mercedes G8 G580.
G580,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, this basically looks kind of like a boat, doesn't it? I mean,
Well,
you
almost.
can picture, but it gets worse when we get to some of the other pictures. Okay, so here you got it. I'm assuming they're going to enclose this in bulletproof glass.
One
Um,
would assume, yes, although it's
yes, one
removable.
would assume.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, but here is a top-down view
Uh-huh.
of the Pope Mobile. But when you get to this one, Doesn't this look
It
like
does.
a
It does
boat?
look like a motorboat. Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
a yacht.
So, this is the
That's
dude.
the
This is the dude that straps in to reel in the 600-pound tuna.
right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can just see the Pope out fishing from the back of the G wagon. He casts,
Right.
and they try to pull the tuna up onto the shore
Right.
with this thing. But it
With
really
with
does look like
with his two Swiss guards sitting in the jump seats behind him.
right, right. It really does have that look, but quite an elegant vehicle, though. Classic pearl white hue.
Now,
Um,
what I couldn't find any information on, this is sort of classic automotive journalism, it seems. They talk about the horsepower. This has got something like 500 and plus horsepower, electric drive, four-wheel electric drive. And one article points out that apparently they're independent, so this thing can do tank turns, right?
yeah, it's
So I
got
guess,
four motors.
yeah, so you can do tank turns with it and things like that. But it didn't say anything about the size of the battery. It didn't say anything about the range of the thing, other than it's designed to be slow, because obviously the Pope is going through the people and the crowds and waving to them. So, but yeah, it's
Wow, Mercedes has been supplying the Vatican with vehicles for
yeah,
94 years.
94 years, amazing. Now there's I'm again operating maybe from faulty old man memory here, but I don't think the headline was Pope gets his first electric car. And I don't think that's true. I think Mercedes donated the first EV probably 10 years ago. It just seems in my mind that there was a previous EV that had been provided to the Vatican before this particular EV.
I was thinking it wasn't that long ago. I thought I'd seen something,
Yeah, yeah.
prior, or maybe it was just that the Catholic Church had a bunch of Mercedes EVs.
No,
It
no,
might
I
not have
think
been
this was
specifically the Pope.
no, I think this was specifically for the Pope. Um, and then also, this was also about the time when they mounted solar. Began the effort to shift the Vatican over to solar power.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty neat looking thing. It's just, you know, it's just funny. I'm surprised they don't make it six wheels in the back. Make it a 6x6.
Yeah, that would be actually that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and then raise it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty high off the ground the way he is. So you don't want to give the Pope a nosebleed, for crying out loud.
I don't know
Oh, by
if
the
you've
way, so
ever.
apparently this was given to him because the 25th anniversary of Pope Francis. I'll call him the Pope. Being made the Pope. So I listened. Interestingly, I listened to a podcast recently where the gentleman was saying that the Pope, current Pope, has had a long-standing interest in UFOs from when he was back an archbishop in Argentina. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, that makes you wonder. Yeah, it says they can install a hard top on top of it. It's like, well, aren't you protecting the Pope? I mean, somebody tried to. I know in my lifetime there's been at least one assassination attempt on the Pope.
But generally, I think that I think it's probably like our Secret Service. I'm sure they do a lot of preparation, looking at the security issues and who we expect the crowd to be. And I don't know if they have any Swiss Guard snipers along the road, but
they probably do. They probably do these days. I mean, I just can't imagine though I mean, he pulls crowds in the millions.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to kind of fathom that. But no, I'm thinking of like a G wagon that's been modified by Brabus. I've seen a couple of those in some resale places, and they're lifted, and oh my God, they're amazing looking.
Armor plated.
Well, a Brabus one will set you back like $750,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a pretty nice little aircraft for that. I don't know. It's really something.
Hey,
Um,
wait till we see the Pope's own gyroplane.
oh God,
Have you seen this?
no.
All of the gyro taxis, air taxis, electric
Hmm.
air taxis, all have these spinning propellers out on the corners, right? Just like
Hmm.
drone. Except this one. This one has spinning rotors in the front and the back, and then down the center line of the thing that allows it to fly any direction. Now, it's still, I think, in prototype development, but you talk about cool. So I could see the Pope, and it's all white. It's already all white. So you could
Hmm.
see the Pope flying down the boulevard with all the throngs of people waving at him and cheering in his gyroplane or whatever it's called. I forget, cyclical props or something like that.
Huh.
Really pretty cool.
All right. So here's an interesting one. Tesla suspends Cybertruck production.
Yeah.
Who could have predicted this? And I heard they told workers not to come in to
Yeah.
work, but oh
Well, that's
God,
you see that in the car industry all the time, obviously, but
I would not want to load one of these trailers for vehicles. But look at how tight that stuff is over the roof of the
oh
Cybertruck.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you make that engineering work, but that's super precise engineering to have a Cybertruck sitting in there between those other cars.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually saw one. My daughter and I had to make a run. We were up there helping her do some remodeling, so we had to make a run to Home Depot, and then yeah. Well, anyway, to Home Depot, and while we were getting out of the car, there was a Cybertruck rolling in front of the Home Depot store. So I've actually seen one moving in the wild. Previously, when I'd been up there, I'd seen one parked in a Linwood shopping center, but this one was moving, actually being driven.
all right. So, Cybertruck production appears to be ramping down. Workers on the vehicle's assembly line have been told there's no need to report to work for 3 days. They had some slowdowns in October, not to mention an increase in cleaning and training duties to fill their hours and a sharp decrease in overtime offers. Tesla hasn't commented on the reason for the slowdown, but it's not what you'd expect, from a car maker with a hit on its hands.
Well,
Let's see.
I saw a reporter speculating that the Cybertruck would be the end of Tesla. It would bankrupt them.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's like Tesla's got so many different things going on that I think they're pretty well insulated against that possibility. Let's see.
Besides having friends in high places
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
or supposed friends in high places.
Yeah. Let's see. There's been an uptick in Cybertruck sales. There was 28,000 sold in the first 3 quarters of 24.
Yeah, amazing.
They've sold 48,500 this year. Not a bad showing. Better than their rivals from Rivian and Ford.
Yeah.
But will it get anywhere close to the 250,000 they were hoping to sell a year? It doesn't really look like it. I mean, that's a big
No.
number.
No.
2 million pickups are sold every year. So it doesn't seem that
So he
far-fetched that
wants a
Tesla could
quarter of
grab an eighth of that.
yeah, an eighth of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? It's that's to be seen. It's um
Oh, by the way, they've
interesting
had
just to see
what
that change up.
so far they've had I think 8 recalls
Yeah.
for
Yeah, but
various
we
things.
all know that most of the time the recall is just a software update. and for some
Well,
reason
not all of them.
they're
Not
required to
all of
call.
them.
No, I know there's been there was something with one of the pedals with the brake
Yeah,
pedal.
yeah. I don't. I think that I've got an article posted on what all those 8 are. So if you do a search on the site for Cybertruck, it should come up and tell you.
Man, I had an article I wanted to cover just because it was kind of funny. Um, Customer tells dealer they are underwater $29,000 on a car loan
Oh
and willing to
yes.
accept a
Oh
$2,500 monthly payment on a new Mercedes Benz. A Genesis owner trading in a GV80 because he says it's uncomfortable. He's $29,000
thousand.
underwater. I mean, that's just hard to fathom.
Unless it's a
Um,
house, you know. You bought it.
yeah,
You bought a house at the peak in Florida, and you had a couple of hurricanes come through.
yeah. It was just an odd story. It's just hard to fathom somebody being willing to trade in something that expensive. The GV80 is a pretty expensive EV.
You know?
Oh, um, here's something else. My last story today is well, and you had something you wanted to talk about SeaTac, but
Oh
um,
yes, we have
but we'll
to
get
talk
to
about
that in a second.
it. Okay.
So Tesla Cybertruck lease prices drop amid looming demand issues. It's still not cheap, but headed in the right direction. So let's see. Um, they're listed on with a starting lease price of $8.99 a month for the all-wheel drive version, while the tri-motor is $9.99 a month. That's
Thousand
a hundred.
bucks, huh?
Yeah, that well, it's $1,000 a month for the Cyber Beast.
Yeah.
The $100 decrease compared to initial pricing. The new prices are valid with a $7,500 down payment, a 30,000-mile limit, and a 36-month term, so 10,000 miles per year. But that's average driving for the United States, essentially. And actually, EVs are typically not driven 10,000
Not
miles
driven
a year.
quite as much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Still a few taxes, like a $695 acquisition fee, a $395 disposition fee. If you worked it out and you added everything into it, um, it really is more like an effective monthly payment of $1,137 if you averaged out the rest of it. But you know, um, that was
You'd want to
I guess
live.
the sales are down. So
You'd want to live in that thing. I mean, you
right,
know, that's an apartment, in Seattle for crying out loud.
yeah. All right. So, what do you want to talk about
Okay,
SeaTac?
speaking of Seattle,
Hmm.
okay, so yesterday we, got driven. Thankfully, our daughter hired us a black car and got driven to SeaTac at 6 o'clock in the morning through the fog and the traffic, and we made really good time. Well, if you've been to SeaTac, right, you sweep off of highway, Interstate 5, and you go into, the terminal area where all the passengers get discharged. Well, on your left, there is the train station for their version of, BART, their local rail station, and then there's a big parking garage, huge parking garage. It's like, I don't know, 7 stories, something like that. So surrounding you, this is at that hour of the morning, it is bumper to bumper getting over to the terminal where you discharge everybody.
Hmm.
So on the corner where everybody can see it is like a 4-story banner from Toyota that says, big words, big letters, Toyota, electrified diversity. Diversified, electric diversified. And then pictures of all of the electric diversified models that they offer, right? Their hybrids and their fuel cell and their EV. I'm not
Hmm.
sure which one. They're
The
they're
busy
plug
forks.
they're plug-in hybrid, right? There's like five models. Big sign. Now bear in mind that probably one out of every 6 or 7 cars in that line are Teslas.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, that's an interesting, piece of. I'm going to use the word propaganda.
No, I know.
On Toyota's part.
I've seen that ad. I've seen that electric diversified ad for Toyota before
Well,
in different
imagine a
spots.
4 or 5 story size banner.
Yeah, but they certainly are doing a much better job with plug-in hybrids than they had. And but the fact they still just have the busy forks here in the United States seems a little slim.
Yeah, a little. So the most popular electrified cars being sold in America right now are hybrids.
Yeah, it's probably
Because
the Toyota RAV4 hybrid.
well, all hybrid, not just Toyotas, but all hybrids are seeing a resurgence of sales. And of course the reason is people who live in apartments and don't have access to convenient access to a plug. Well, they think or they need to drive more than the typical 30-40 miles in a day. They're or they drive from see their parents in Seattle, see their parents in Spokane, right? And they don't want to stop at Moses Lake on the way or whatever. So they're going over to the hybrid. So hybrids are having a bit of a resurgence.
Well, Toyota has some excellent hybrids, not
Oh,
plug-in. I mean, they have some plug-ins, but I mean, you look at,
there's one
I was telling you,
in my garage.
yeah, well, yeah, you got the Prius, but
Right.
they've got a hybrid Camry that gets 44 miles per gallon, and the
Mhm.
hybrid, the Sienna minivan hybrid gets 36 city and highway. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unreal. I
Yeah.
mean, to think that a vehicle that large is getting that kind of mileage.
And I think that's fantastic. I don't, the more people we have doing that, the cleaner our air gets.
Yep,
But
yep.
still, eventually we have to abandon fossil fuels and go to other, sources of energy, preferably, green generated electricity.
Preferably,
Yeah.
preferably. Yeah, you never know. They'll come up with something new. We'll switch over to arsenic. We'll be burning arsenic for power.
No, 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 no. We figure out what to do with all those opals.
Yeah, there you go.
We talked about that. My daughter was watching a series on, opal miners in little family groups that go out to these abandoned opal fields and look for this pretty little mineral. Doesn't have any use that we are aware of at the moment beyond being really pretty. So
There's probably lots of energy stored in elephant tusks, and you could probably power some cars with elephant tusks and bring a resurgence of, poaching elephants.
no, please, no, no, no. Now, if you want to go, all you got to do, go into Siberia where all the tundra's melting. You
Yeah.
saw that they just found a fully intact Cybertooth tiger cub. Have you seen that?
Cybertooth? How about a saber tooth?
Or Siamese? Yeah, Cybertooth.
You said
Thank
cybertooth.
you.
I'm
I
like,
did. I did. My apologies. Yeah, a saber-toothed tiger cub, fur and all, which is just
wow.
amazing. Could
Yeah.
we? Could that serve as a basis of bringing? They're already talking about bringing thylacine, the Australian thylacine back. We're talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth.
The
So
Velociraptor.
Well, no, I don't think we can do velociraptors, but we certainly could bring back now that we've got this. Oh, there is an extinct variety of horse that they found a little colt who was probably when it died, it was 3 or 4 weeks old.
Mhm.
And so that's really good intact DNA. So we're beginning to see some of these. I guess if you're looking for a positive spin to the melting tundra and ice caps, we're getting some of these ancient creatures, being brought back, and maybe science will help us, if we want, whether that's smart or not, it's still a question. But bring some of those extinct species back. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some woolly mammoths.
Woolly mammoths, carrier pigeons. I think there's
Yep,
actually work
dodos.
being done on the carrier pigeon. The dodo, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, Bill, that's all we had
All
for
right.
today.
Okay, that was
Next
plenty.
week will probably be okay. I'll be traveling, but I should still be able to do the show. So we'll see what
Okay.
we get. Folks,
Hey,
thanks
if
for watching.
I
And
could do it from Seattle, so can you.
yeah, I know. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anyways, have a great day, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll be
Bye-bye.
back next week.